Cairo, June 1942. One never knows where fate will take us. Cairo taught me that. Expect the unexpected. Little did I realize when I left London that I would walk out of one nightmare into another. In Cairo, the incessant noise of London's air raids heralding the arrival of Goering's Luftwaffe was replaced by the jingling cacophony of Egyptian street life. The call of the muezzin, the braying of donkeys, and the honking of 1,000 horns from dilapidated vehicles, as tired and worn out as the animals that sauntered through the streets at a leisurely pace. The city was an assault on the senses, a pungent mixture of incense, sweet-smelling shisha, animal dung, and petrol fumes. Added to this was the ever-present musky odor of dust from the western desert, the smell of a long-buried civilization. While a short spell in wartime Cairo might have appeared preferable to the bombing of Europe, there was a heightened perception of danger. For men like myself, 1942 was a waiting game. I was living a double life, newspaper correspondent by career who doubled up as an agent for Churchill's newly formed Special Operations Executive, otherwise known as SOE, the organization that had started up to set Europe ablaze was poised to set the Middle East ablaze too. Officially, we did not exist, and along with pimps, gangsters, and black marketeers, I had joined the ranks of the underworld. The shadowy souks and cocktail parties of Cairo's elite had become my haunts. At that moment, I had no idea which way my life would go. Throughout 1941-42, I found myself covering several successful expeditions by the British, who dealt a demoralizing blow against the Italians. That Christmas, the whole of Cairo celebrated. By spring, the euphoria had turned to despair. It wasn't only the Germans who were on our minds, but Greece as well. When the Italians attacked Greece in 1940, the defense of Greece was seen as vital to the Allies in the Middle East, but the Greek Prime Minister refused the offer of help. Even so, morale was high amongst the Greeks in Egypt, and they displayed a patriotic fervor for their homeland. In a matter of weeks, they raised more money than the whole of the Egyptian national defense budget, and several thousand Greeks decided to go back and fight with their fellow countrymen. I covered their departure from Alexandria. Spirits were high, especially after the defeat of the Italians. We seemed invincible. Every evening I followed the reports coming in from Greece. The Italians were soon pushed back into Albania. At first, early successes brought jubilation. Then things stalled. The harsh winter had taken its toll, and news soon reached us that the Greek army was trapped in the Albanian mountains. It was not looking good. If Greece was not adequately secured, it would be vulnerable to a German attack. In January 1941, Hitler sent one of his best generals to North Africa to aid the Italians, General Erwin Rommel. When the new prime minister asked for help, thousands of Allied troops were sent to aid the Greeks. 3 months later, on 6th April, Germany invaded Greece. The occupation of Greece created a supply line to Rommel's Afrika Korps, which threatened to unravel our earlier successes. All of a sudden, our invincibility appeared short-lived. I followed the hourly bulletins with a deep sense of foreboding. Once a week, I made contact with SOE at their headquarters in a nondescript block of flats called Rustem Buildings. On other occasions, I paid visits to various establishments for clandestine meetings with fellow contacts, some of whom I had never seen before and most likely would never see again. Since arriving in the city, I was aware that I would be sent on a special assignment, and although I was given no more information at that time, it became increasingly obvious to me that it might be Greece. Throughout this period, Shepherd's Hotel was my home away from home. If I wasn't out of the city on an assignment, or at one of the many cocktail parties, charity events, or gambling at the Continental, I could be found in the Long Bar, a notoriously indiscreet place for picking up snippets of information covering everything from affaire d'amour to plans of the next desert offensive. Joe Scallum, the Swiss barman, was probably one of the best-informed men in Cairo. I liked him immensely. With just one nod of the head or a glance towards a corner of the room where a certain gentleman might be having an intimate conversation with another, I eavesdropped on a few important conversations which otherwise might have eluded me. One particularly hot afternoon in mid-June, I happened to be sitting on the terrace when a woman with dark, dramatic looks, wearing a white cotton dress, caught my attention. I must confess to more than a mild curiosity. She was one of the most alluring women I'd ever laid eyes on, and quite took my breath away. There were plenty of beautiful women in Cairo,